Justin Boyd.
I'm really tired of Heather and her shenanigans.
And I'm like Poindexter. My spirit never misses.
Oh, and we are back, y'all. We are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss Season 1, Episode 8 of Daredevil Born Again, episode titled Isle of Joy. It's the penultimate episode of the first season of Daredevil Born Again. We got one more to go. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the end of this show. Not to spoil my review of everything, but let's get to it. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start off overall thoughts on the 8th episode of Daredevil Born Again. Brittany, start us off. What'd you think about episode 8?
A quick shout out to Genneya, who's joining us in today's chat. Appreciate you being here as always. She says, I was not expecting that ending. And ditto. I don't know if that's something we still say in this day and age, but yeah, I wasn't expecting that ending. Overall thoughts on the episode. I feel like still we are missing critical exposition. I feel like we are just getting bits and pieces of things that really weren't talked about, and then somehow they come back, somehow they're important, and then we're trying to tie up loose ends that really I just don't fully understand. And I think it goes back to something that we had discussed in our previous pod about how when the show was originally 18 episodes intended, that we would have had that story development, character development, etc., for you to, or for us as the audience to fully understand what's happening. And because that got cut in half to the 9 episodes that we are getting this season, we're really cutting corners, and then we're trying to make things make sense. And I have questions. I have things to point out. Obviously, overall, it was a very lackluster penultimate episode for me. And I feel also too that Game of Thrones ruined us when it comes to penultimates for every series, because they knew how to do penultimate episodes, right? And then season 8 happened and we don't discuss season 8. However, I still kind of have that in my head where, man, penultimates are going to be great. It's going to, it's really going to set it up for the finale and hopefully leave us wanting more for the following season. And I just kind of meh. It's just, there's some cool moments, I'm not going to lie. But overall, it was just very lackluster in my personal opinion. Frank, my friend, what did you think of the penultimate episode?
I was thinking about everything else, but while I was actually watching on screen, I was like, I could have used this time to watch 90 Day Fiance. I could have used this time to watch The Ultimatum. If I want to watch good TV, and if I'm not watching TV that makes sense or written to make sense, then I'd rather just watch reality TV and trash TV, because at least it's entertaining. And after the event of 1923, I'm just kind of done of subjecting myself to poor writing. Doesn't make sense to me. If I'm 40 now, so I don't want to waste my time on things that I'm not interested in. So, like the SpongeBob meme, I'm gonna head out, and y'all let me know when X-Men 97 comes back. That's when I'll dial back in, because I just. These motherfuckers make too much money to keep putting out mediocre content. You took a beloved character that I love and care about and don't even have the motherfucker in the show. I don't understand that, bro. It's like getting a Batman series, no fucking Batman, just 5 hours of Bruce Wayne. If I want to do that, I just watch Penguin. I don't want to watch a superhero show with no fucking superhero. And then you throw in random bad guys in here with no context whatsoever. That doesn't flow with the storyline. It's bro, is Taylor Sheridan writing this? Did he get hired by Kevin Feige? I don't understand the poor writing, bro. It's like they watched Netflix and said, you know what, man? We're gonna one up y'all motherfuckers, but we're gonna one up it the opposite way. We're gonna give you mediocre TV. That's what we're gonna do. That's how we're gonna show Netflix. We're gonna buy back the rights to this character and just destroy the character's flow, the ensemble cast, logic and common sense. There was a scene, bro, when the episode opens up, Poindexter his hands are tied, And they literally said, you cannot leave anything around this motherfucker. What did they do? What did they do 2 scenes later? They fix his stitches and he has no bondage. As if they didn't know that this motherfucker, his name is Bullseye. He has 100% accuracy rate. Like, it's like the plot holes in this show doesn't make sense to me. And the reason why I'm so upset because before the first episode even came out, Kevin Feige self-proclaimed himself that his hands were all over this shit. That he oversaw the project. That they did a lot of rewrites. He got in front of this as if this was going to be a better version of what the 8th episode season was. If this is the better version, I'm afraid it's the 18th episode season. I'm afraid it's the 18th episode version. This is trash. Trash. Go on, man.
Not to quote Justin's friend that we went to a U of H basketball game with one time, and he's yelling out "trash." Yes, that lives rent free in my head.
Brittany, too soon to mention U of H basketball after what.
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry.
Unfortunately, Cougs couldn't win it all. But hey, national title game, awesome showing. Yeah, as far as this episode, the internet loves this episode. It's crazy because I had heard from people that I trust online that episode 8 was the best episode of the season. So I was like, not excited, but I was like, okay, let's see. And it's not my favorite by any stretch. I think we're all pretty down on this show, which, is kind of surprising because usually we're not all on the same page about stuff. But yeah, this show is just such a mixed bag. Like it's just kind of all over the place. There are cool moments. There are surprising things. Like we'll talk about the ending of the episode here in a little bit, but there's also like everything that's kind of cool is like super rushed. And it's just kind of like, well, we got this character back and we got to like make him like do everything we possibly can with this character right now. And it's like, I'm surprised they didn't just like kill Bullseye in this episode like they've done with other characters. It was just like, like there's great acting, like obviously we're all fans of Charlie Cox and how he plays the character. There's also some really bad acting, some bad writing. I mean, the Gandolfini kid, like, I don't need to see that guy in this show anymore. Like him and the BB storyline, just, I don't think we need it. Like who cares? Like a lot of the characters in this show are just so paper thin that, I just don't really enjoy watching the show, which is crazy because this is supposed to be like, one of the biggest things for Marvel and for the superhero landscape for the year. And because Brittany, before, like in January, we talked about like the 13 superhero projects or whatever it was. We went through the list. And if you would have told me back then, like Daredevil Born Again will probably be at the bottom of my list in the year, I would have said you're crazy. Now, granted, we're only in April and I haven't seen a lot of stuff, but like, I mean, I can't imagine that Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Superman are worse than this show because, Spider-Man, your friend in the neighborhood, Spider-Man, the animated show that just dumped in January, is light years better than Daredevil Born Again. If you want to have like character development, good writing, an excellent story, you should watch that show. This show just doesn't have it. And it's really just, it's like, honestly, like I think Matt Murdock had a good quote that you could describe the episode or the show in. He said, when he's talking about how, he doesn't want to represent this client because he knows the guy's lying. He says like, he feels like his life is useless. The job is useless. He's like, we're not serving justice. We're babysitting chaos. This show is chaos. To me, it is. Like, it's just craziness all over the place. And there's a bunch of like little annoying things. The most annoying thing to me, and Brittany, we talked about this off air, is there is so much, like they use language so much in the show. There's so many F-bombs and it's just like, it's not justified. It's so silly how they're trying to cover up for the lack of like, it's not like a dark and gritty show. It's like light years behind the Penguin. I mean, it's like not even on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Their way of like, they're like, oh, we're in New York, so everybody's gonna say fuck over and over and over. And it's like, the MCU didn't say the F word until like 30 movies in, 31 movies, whatever, with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And then of course you have Deadpool and Wolverine, which when they say those things, it's for humor and it's for emphasis. This show, you've had 2 F-bombs that were like worthy, both of them by Matt Murdock. One of them in this episode. But all the rest of it, it's just like, you're just water. Like every character is saying, like people are just like muttering the F word as they go to commercial, like to breaks, sort of like it's. I just don't get like the need to do that when your show is and looks like a Disney Channel show. Let's be real. This is not like cinema that we're watching. It's not, which is my larger point. I just wish they would stop making these shows. Stop making the shows, focus on the movies. It's called the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a reason. If you want to use Disney Plus for animated and for maybe like one-off specials, that's great. But like stop with these shows because they're not good enough and they're not really worthy of our time, to be perfectly
Here's the
honest.
problem though. The movies have been very mediocre as well. It's like it's permeating throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe projects.
No, I don't disagree, but I would say that like the movies, while they haven't been great, I think if they were more special, if they were events like they used to be, if you just got like 2 or 3 movies a year, I think more people would like financially they would do better, I think. Which that's all they care about. They don't care. I mean, they'd like to have a nice story they can tell and so they keep people coming back, but like, they're trying to get people butts in seats and make as much money as they can. And it's not special anymore because there's so much of it because of the shows have like watered down the brand and really hurt the MCU. And I hope that like after next year, maybe like they're going to be done with the shows or like very, very few shows because like this show is supposed to be like one of the best ones and it's just not. It's not. So
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. And to your point about dropping the F-bombs or just more explicit language than there even was with the Netflix show. I mean, and it's Netflix. Like you could get away with stuff like that on Netflix and it was fine, but they did not oversaturate every episode with the language. And this is coming from someone who cusses like a sailor. All right. And I can't tell you how many times a day I drop the F-bomb at work or just in daily life, but it just feels so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just, it doesn't feel organic when
it's
when
forced.
It's said
Exactly.
It's very forced in this show. The 2 times that Matt Murdock has used the F-bomb, the first time was when obviously that internal fight of whether or not he dons the suit again to go and try to save the day. And he's debating and he's just all, fuck it. Like that was great. That was well placed. That was like, yes, we all can relate to that. We've all had those moments where it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, let's just go. And then this time when he is requested to meet with Bullseye in prison, words are exchanged, things happen, but then Matt replies back to Bullseye, who says, "Thank you, counselor," as he's being taken away. And Matt's very ferociously says, "Fuck you," because he's pissed. And that was well done as well. But this other forced use of it with these other minor characters, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Let's get to the surprising ending where we see that Matt takes a bullet. So Bullseye is trying to shoot. By the way, Bullseye's back after the first episode. I should mention first off. So this episode was directed by the directors. The same director. The same directors directed episode 1, episode 8, and episode 9. So these are the guys that basically came over to take over. Directed by Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead. These are guys who worked on Moon Knight and season 2 of Loki. And so, obviously in episode 1, he had Bullseye. That was their first episode. That was their episode. Now these guys are back directing the episode. So we bring back Bullseye. Bullseye is, Fisk moves him from his like solitary confinement to general population, hoping for, the prisoners to kill him. Anyway, he gets out, which we can talk about that more later. But at the end, he goes to this mayor's ball and tries to gun down Fisk, and Matt gets in the way, takes the bullet for Fisk. That's how the episode ends with a cliffhanger. Will Daredevil survive? Frank, what'd you think about Matt taking the bullet, and what do you see for the finale? Like, how do they get out of this, or what's the next move for Matt? Does he just magically heal, or is he going to be out of commission? What do you think's going to happen?
If you would have told me this 10 weeks ago that, hey, when you watch season 1 of Born Again, Daredevil is going to get shot, and it's going to look critical. I would be like, fuck, that's crazy. Yeah. But watching, I was kind of like, all right, what else you got? Like he we know he ain't gonna die. Like the show's about him. I just don't know where they're going with it. Like it didn't. It's like they're trying to add shock value without giving you like the lead up to the shock value.
Yeah,
and it's like it's missing the mark for me. Mm-hmm. And like I thought Vanessa might get shot. I thought possibly the girlfriend, the therapist. When Matt took the bullet, to me it was kind of like you're not going to add any type of like intensity. We all know he's going to come back. He's not going to die. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what was the point of Matt getting shot as far as like the shock value? Nobody's shocked. We know he's going to come back. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you're just prolonging like the predictableness of like him coming back more mad and more pissed off than he was before. So it's kind of like, whatever. Like when the episode ended, I was kind of like, it's like, again, I'm just getting bad show vibes. I'm just watching it to get closure so I can move on to the next project. Like it did nothing for me, him getting shot. I wasn't mad. I wasn't sad. I wasn't shocked. It's just Game of Thrones added shock. Red Wedding was shock. You know what I'm saying? The Battle of the Bastards was like iconic. This was just kind of like, all right, cool. See you next week. Like, I don't really, it's like, it did nothing for me, him getting shot.
Yeah, Brittany, what about you? What'd you think about the final scenes of or the final scene from episode 8?
Well, given the history between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock and their not counterparts, or alter egos, they threatened one another, basically. You step out of line, I'll be there. Yeah. You step out of line, there's going to be consequences. And obviously, the identity of Matt's might be exposed in that moment. But for Matt to also have the enhanced abilities to hear just about everything, he's hearing and virtually seeing, if you will, who it is, the click of the gun or the bullet, going into place and what have you, the trigger being pulled. And he jumps in the way of Fisk, who, again, has already been threatening Matt about various things and his stance on vigilantes and what have you. So it's kind of like, for Matt to do that, to me, it's like, okay, why? Then I thought about it. Well, Matt's always going to try to do the right thing. That's just who he is. But I think more so it's just the fact that Wilson Fisk, as mayor, has so many witnesses that he is going to be indebted to Matt Murdock. And so the risk of exposing anything is, I don't know how that would pan out for Wilson at this point. To expose him as Daredevil. Well, he's a vigilante who's been doing these things. It's like, yeah, but he saved your ass, right? He took the bullet. Which, by the way, I love the resemblance of Wilson's back in all white and the blood splattered across his white tux, which is very reminiscent of course, that painting that he has. And I like Frank, I thought Vanessa was going to be shot. I thought kind of low-key was hoping Heather would be shot, just saying, I'm tired of her. She need to go. I can do without her personally. But I was not expecting Matt to jump in the way of Wilson being shot, because the fact that Poindexter / Bullseye, he's got beef with Fisk. Fisk wanted him moved from solitary. I call it solitary, but he was supposed to be left alone, and then brought him to general population. Right. Why? Because something had happened with Vanessa, which is, we'll get into that in a little bit too, because that just came out of left field. But that was just interesting in it of itself. But now, like I said, Wilson obviously is indebted to Matt.
Yeah.
I totally missed that. What happened to Vanessa?
So real quick, I guess we'll circle back to this in a second. Matt was trying to figure out how Wilson, Fisk, Bullseye, and Foggy were all connected. He's like, there's some sort of connection. We missed something when he's at Josie's bar and he's talking with Cherry, who's checking up on him, and Josie comes back out with the drink that Foggy was drinking that night, because that drink was the only time they would drink that was when they're celebrating something. That was just like a tradition of theirs. And so Foggy was like preemptively celebrating his win of a client who was being followed or tracked by Bullseye. That was the target. Okay. Matt put two and two together and said it was Vanessa who had hired Bullseye to take out Foggy's client. But it's like, but who fucking cares? Because we never got story as to what this person did, if he was connected, in the circle with Vanessa when she was like top boss when Fisk was gone. Like, we don't know the story behind that. And it's like, who fucking cares at this point? And that's what I'm saying. We are missing critical exposition when it comes to these, loose ends that they're trying to tie up. Yeah. And it's just like, this makes no sense. Like, y'all let me know in the chat, or if you're watching the replay in the comments, let me know if I'm off base on this, because I don't think I am. And if I am, please share your argument. I'd love to read it.
Yeah, let me just walk y'all through this, because I'm glad you brought this up. This is a perfect transition, because I want to talk about the Bullseye Vanessa connection. So, like you explained, Brittany, Matt figures out that Vanessa hired Bullseye to kill Foggy. Okay, that just doesn't make sense to me, because let's go back to season 3. Let's go back to the end of season 3, right? What happens at the end of season 3? Bullseye tries to kill Fisk and tries to kill Vanessa. Remember, Matt stops Bullseye from shooting Vanessa or throwing something at her. Then she like runs away. So we know that Bullseye hates Fisk. And of course he hates him probably even more because Fisk breaks his back at the end of season 3. So 6 or 7 or 8 years later, whatever, why does Vanessa, like, if she wants to put out a hit on Foggy, because I guess she wants to get at Matt, why would she contact Bullseye of all people? Because he wants to kill them. Like, right?
Also,
like,
still, why was Bullseye not in jail after his surgery? Or did he just like escape because he woke up during surgery?
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
also
I mean?
like who we saw someone was working on his back at the end of season 3. We never really found out who that was, I don't believe. But then also it's like,
just
why would she call up Bullseye? Frank, what are your thoughts on that?
Bro, when I watched this episode, I was so confused because, like you said, in season 3, Matt saved Vanessa and Kingpin both. So why would Vanessa hire Bullseye, the guy who's trying to kill her, to kill Foggy? Unless this client is a whistleblower of the operation, maybe, I'm guessing, while Kingpin was gone. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, is that this operation that Vanessa was running with the other henchmen of New York, this whistleblower that Daredevil hired, or Foggy was working with to protect, pissed Vanessa off. But again, there's no exposition, there's no continuity, there's no buildup. Hell, bro, give me a 30-second flashback of like connecting this to where I could be like, oh, okay, I see why Vanessa's pissed. Oh, okay, I see why Foggy was targeted. Oh, okay, this is the motherfucker who's the whistleblower. I have none of, like, it's just random people getting shot. That's just all it is this season. Random people dying, random people getting shot, and it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, no.
We still don't know who shot Hector Ayala.
I don't think we're ever gonna. I don't think they don't care to.
I don't think we are.
I don't think they care. Obviously, it wasn't.
Agreed.
It wasn't Bullseye. Like, I thought maybe it'd be Bullseye. I think if it's anybody, it's got to be that Buck Cashman guy. I think it was him.
It's Heather.
It's Heather.
But then still, why wear the Punisher shirt? Like, why?
Well,
why?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think we're gonna get that answer maybe until next season. And that's why, like, I know.
I don't think we get it at all.
Maybe, probably not. Like, so Brittany, I didn't get your prediction on what do you think is going to happen with Matt for next week. Usually we say predictions for the end, but because of the cliffhanger ending nature of this episode, what do you like? I mean, obviously Matt's not going to die. Daredevil's not going to die, but like, are they taking him off the board for the finale, or like, what? How do they get out of this? How do they write themselves out of this corner that they put themselves in?
Sadly, I read something that kind of, I won't say exposes what the episode is about. However, it's something that supposedly is going to be extremely violent. I'm just going to hold that, like a grain of salt, but the fact that I read that and it looked like it was a picture of Matt, he's alive and well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But is he going to commit this very violent act? Is he actually going to fall off the deep end and actually kill somebody? Is he going to kill multiple people or just one? And I'm just going to make a far off prediction. He's going to kill Vanessa. He's going to kill Vanessa because how do you hit Wilson Fisk the hardest? That's taking out his wife. He said as much in this episode when they were both in front of Adam. Adam's pleading for his life. Vanessa, she has a choice. I had to rewatch it in order to notice the gun because all the camera was just focusing on the key. But Wilson said to her, he goes, Vanessa, like, if I'm without you, then like I'm just not. Like, in other words, he doesn't exist. He's nothing without her. So that's kind of just leads to my prediction of if there is a violent act that's going to be committed by Matt because maybe they took out his girlfriend or they exposed him, or I don't know. I don't have like a actual reason though, but I feel like if anyone's going to die by Matt's hands, it's going to be Vanessa because he knows that's how he's going to hurt Wilson Fisk the most.
What do you think?
I think it's a stretch. I think it's a stretch. I mean, I'm making this prediction. I think it's a stretch, but there you are.
It's just so off brand, man. if he goes, if like we already have a Punisher in this universe, do we need two Punishers now? Like, I just don't. And you know what? I'm not even saying what you're saying, Brittany, is just far fetched. The writing's been so bad. If it does happen, then I guess that's where the born again tagline comes from, of him turning his new leaf of being like an emotionless killer. But like it's just so our brand to who Matt Murdock is. Like for the ethos of the character, he's by the law. The man does pro bono work, for God's sakes. Like, yeah. I just don't. If he does that, just throw the whole fucking show away, please.
Well, I just think because at that one point in the show where he's meeting with that client who clearly is defrauding the Teachers Association or whatever the hell that was about, because they went so quick about it that I didn't really pay attention. But Matt could read off the heartbeat that dude was lying, right? And then he went off on him. Of course, this is on the heels of learning that Poindexter wants to meet with him. He's been moved to General Pop because Fisk had willed it so he's agitated, rightfully so.
Yeah. But
he obviously said what he said about how we don't serve justice, we just babysit chaos. And he's tired of it. Obviously, he's tired of doing the right thing, it seems, at this point. So therefore, his evolution, we're seeing that change where, yes, he may be a good guy, but like good guys get tired. And maybe he wants to embody more of Daredevil to take matters into his own hands at this point. I don't know. I really don't know. I say that only because I noticed with the lighting at the very end when Matt he's been shot, he's lying on the ground, he's bleeding out. You see the bird's eye view, and the lighting turns red. Well, we've seen that before in an earlier episode when Fisk was just named mayor. And so he's walking in the streets and then you see nothing but red. It's like he's wanting to tap into his role as Daredevil, no different than the blue light that we would see with Poindexter. Poindexter, I feel, when he's like agitated and wants to be able to defend himself, that's why you saw that blue light. Because he's in General Pop, he's restrained. If he wasn't restrained, he would have murked all those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And same thing when he is on that balcony with the rifle and he's about to shoot Fisk. Blue lights. They're trying to tap into who they really are.
Tristan's on our Facebook chat saying, not too much on Heather now.
Listen. God almighty.
I do want to say real quick before we move on. I like Yesenia in the chat. Her prediction is maybe Punisher shows up with Karen. And I say the only problem with that, Yesenia, is it's too logical. It's too logical for this show. And it's too good of an idea, honestly.
100%.
That would make total sense. But
I don't think we're seeing Karen nor Punisher again.
We're gonna see them in season 2.
I'm talking about this season.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but to me, like it would make sense because Yesenia says in the chat again, she says, both of Karen's friends were shot, meaning Foggy shot and killed, Matt TBD, but we have a pretty good feeling he's gonna be alive. Yeah, to me, if they're not in the show, or I don't know, I don't know where you go like with this storyline. Like, Daredevil's not a character where you like, well, okay, Matt Murdock got shot, so we'll fake the death of Matt Murdock and he'll just be Daredevil full time. I don't think that can exist considering people know who Daredevil is, so they're gonna be like, oh, so Matt Murdock's dead, but now the Daredevil's back, so Matt Murdock didn't die. Like it. I don't really have a clue where they're gonna go with this, and I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But
I mean, people thought that Frank Castle was dead, but then he came back.
When did they think he was dead? I really don't remember. Like,
Frank, help me out here. I'm blanking.
I don't know. When was he? When you thought he was dead?
Okay, maybe not dead. No.
Oh, that boat, the boat thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's like superhero kind of stuff, though. Like.
I'm sorry. What is Matt Murdock? Not a superhero?
No. I mean, make
it make sense, Justin. You can't have it both ways.
No, you're right. You got me there.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see how they figure it out. Let's move on to the relationship portion of the show. Let's talk about how the main characters and their relationships, they're kind of going in opposite directions. You have the Fisks who are, getting closer, by any means necessary. And you have, Matt and Heather who are seemingly, splitting apart. Frank, what do you think about how the Fisks, basically they're back together because over killing Adam? Like that seemed like that fixed all their problems.
Yeah, it seems to be the toxicity of this couple, the Bonnie and Clyde-ism of this couple is that they're made for each other. Vanessa and Fisk they have this symbiotic relationship, and it was very predictable when she walks in and sees Adam. I knew she was going to be the one that killed him because he did promise he wasn't going to kill him. And of course he left it for her to do his bidding. They're kind of on brand, man. That's just who they are. Like, she knows Fisk loves her to death and he can't operate without her. And she knows that. And when he does these crazy deeds that's twisted to the regular human eye, that's twisted, that's psychotic, she sees it as love. She sees it as compassion. And that's what makes them so perfect for each other. I think Heather's an idiot. I don't think she's very smart. This episode showed me how stupid she is. To sit there and say that the Muse, who murdered 60 fucking people in 3 weeks, is the same as Daredevil. Did she really just say that?
Yeah.
Did the writing say that about her at her mentality of how they're comparable? The only thing between Muse and Daredevil is that they both wear masks. That's the only thing. Bitch, he saved your fucking life. What the fuck are you talking about? They're similar. They're the same. One's a homicidal maniac who paints with blood.
Yeah.
The other is a fucking hero who lives in a city full of crooked cops that you've seen. That's ran by a crooked mayor that you are giving therapy to, and you have the nerve to say they're the same person. It angered me because, again, I don't know if Heather's supposed to be like posed as this very intellect person. That line destroyed everything I have as far as how I viewed her as an intellect person. That was idiotic, bro. And I need Tristan to step up for a woman and speak on her behalf. That was bad. I want to turn the TV off when I saw that. It made no sense.
In fairness, she looked great at the ball. She looked great. So
the motherfucker saved your life, but you was an inch away from being a blood bag, like literally. Yeah. And he saved your life, bro.
Yeah.
He stitched your wound up, my nigga. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I thought she had one of the unintentional funny moments in the episode whenever, where Buck Cashman comes to, is it Matt's apartment or it's Matt's apartment, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he comes there, invites Heather to this ball. And then, Matt's like, hey, how do you know this guy? How do you, basically Matt learns that, she is the therapist for the Fisk. And, Matt's explaining to her, he's like, like this guy, he's a monster. Like if he's coming after, if he's, following you, he's trying to get at me. And like, we don't want him in our lives. And she said, well, he's the mayor. He's in everyone's life. And I'm just like, that was like I get what the writer was thinking, but it's like, don't actually say that. Like, I don't know. Just not good. Not
good. And almost on cue, y'all, we're going to welcome Tristan into the chat. Tristan, we're talking about your girl who I'm sick and tired of. I am sick and tired of her shit. I said this in our group chat just moments ago. I said I low-key was hoping she was Bullseye's target. Okay? I am so sick and tired of her. Like, and her bullshit and how she's like, Matt, I killed someone. Do you know what that feels like? He's like, I can kind of guess. And
he's like, no, I've just like severely disabled like 50 people, but no, I've never actually crossed that line. Yeah. Yeah.
And then she's like, well, Daredevil and Muse, they're like the same kind of people. And he's like, no, Muse was like trying to kill you. Daredevil tried to, save you. She's like, I saved me, bitch.
The white colonizing tone of that remark. I saved me? Like, bro, what are we doing right now? You fucking Christopher Columbus ass motherfucker. You saved you? You about to be that body bag, bro. What are you talking about? You saved you.
Shit.
Did you forget who stitched up your damn wound and made sure no more blood was leaking out of your fucking body? You goddamn idiot.
Tristan, I'm gonna need you to try and vindicate her. It's not gonna work, but go ahead and try.
I'm gonna add a little bit of levity to this conversation. I was listening the whole way. That's me in the chat, Trey and Chrissy. That's me. Okay. I'll start with the whole I saved me. Technically, she's wrong. Yes, she did not save her. She was on the verge of imminent death. I do understand the agency and saying like, okay, I have to believe by pulling this trigger, by making that decision to kill Muse at that moment, I have to believe that I saved myself and that I'm not like hyper dependent on this vigilante who can come in any moment. You can't predict when he's gonna show up, yada yada. Like the mental gymnastics of, hey, I had to do this for myself. You know what I'm saying? I had to end this problem. Even though Daredevil was, defending her, fighting off Muse. I do think she's right in the fact when she says, hey, both Muse and Daredevil are doing this for themselves, primarily for themselves. I think she's 100% right about that. I do think, yes, Daredevil, Matt Murdock is a hero, but Matt also, like anybody who considers himself a hero, anybody who has the temerity to say, I'm going to put on a mask and I'm going to be the one to go out here and stop this. I'm going to decide what's right and wrong and who deserves justice, yada, yada. That is, essentially a selfish act. Even within the heroism, it is a selfish act. She's a therapist, like she's a psychiatrist. She's trained to like view these things in these existential types of manners. So I get that. Is she wrong? Like, yeah, to a large degree, she is wrong. About Matt. I'm not Matt, but about Daredevil and his intentions. But like again, she's looking from an outside point of view as somebody literally trained to help people take off the mask. Like that is her entire, occupation. That's her whole life. That's her whole identity is getting people to see beyond their own mask and what's behind it, and like look at why do they do these things. I think she is a victim of like this misconception that a lot of people have about Daredevil, as like this. He's just simply this vigilante, like that, as if there's no ethos behind what he does. Like completely wrong about that. Yeah, but like she would have to see the ethos play out, and that's the thing about being a vigilante, about being quote unquote superhero, having his mask on, is you invite the misconceptions, right? Every superhero that wears a mask that people don't know his or her identity, they all have the same misconception. Batman, there's a misconception about Batman. There's a misconception about Superman. Everybody thinks Superman at any moment can just snap his fingers and like destroy the entire planet. Like everybody thinks Batman is a psychopath, which he is, who, just does not have, who essentially is beating up on mentally ill people. Being a vigilante invites these misconceptions. Like I think that's another larger point that the show is trying to make.
Let me ask you.
Just the biggest illustration. But
yes, you are right in regards to that. This is where I disagree with you. The common person, I expect them to have that misconception, because the common person is an idiot for the most part. They don't have common sense. She's trained in this light to see things from multiple perspectives. If that was the police officer that saved her life, she wouldn't be saying, I saved me. She has a disdain for vigilantes. So there's a biasness that she has towards not Matt Murdock, Daredevil, that she just can't see. And that and it wasn't the level of selfishness part, I agree with. She said they're the same. That's why I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? How they're the same? One literally is a homicidal maniac that killed 60 people. The other one saved a little girl and saved you that would have been 62. So they're not the same. That's the line that confused me. I expect somebody off the street who doesn't know any better to say that. For a trained therapist to say that, that's why I'm like, bro, where's this writing going?
And to assume, I mean, she knows the true identity of Muse, right? Obviously, she learned the alter ego in that session. To say that both Muse and Daredevil are underdeveloped boys or underdeveloped men, like I felt that in my soul, and I'm like, you're basing it off what? Like you learned Muse's background, like in that session or in sessions, you learned his background, you learned his upbringing, and I wouldn't say there's necessarily anything underdeveloped. Like he had like a pretty privileged life. It just wasn't one that he wanted or was content with. So to make that assumption that Daredevil 2 is underdeveloped, it's like based on what? Based on what?
I think she's right. Like, I think this episode of all episodes is the wrong one to like, go against the whole Matt Murdock / Daredevil is an undeveloped, man, and emotionally, right?
Well, we don't have many other episodes to go off of since they cut it in half. So this is what we got.
That's another conversation. I wanted to jump in on that as I was driving. But this episode, we see Matt Murdock just way more explosive, emotionally. than he's been all season. Like a lot more on edge, a lot more struggling to see like the bigger picture of what's happening, struggling to, I mean, the whole nature of his lifestyle is keeping this huge secret from a lot of people, including people that he cares about, that care about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that if this was anybody else, we would say, hey, you're a little underdeveloped in this particular area. Another point, I would argue that there's not that much of a difference. There's not much of a line. The line between Fisk and Daredevil is not that thick. You know what I'm saying? Like, they go different paths in their, I guess, immaturity, emotional immaturity. They definitely have different intentions of how they think, about other people and empathy and violence. But like, this whole season has been paralleling that these two they have the same flaws a lot of ways. They just show up in different ways. Muse and Daredevil are both underdeveloped in the sense of, clearly there was things in their childhood that they lacked, that view the way like they view, trust and seeing other people. Matt Murdock's just a good person. Like, obviously he has a different ethos than those people, but they're from the same tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of this is from the same tree. Like, there's a thin line between heroism and psychopathy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not that far off. Do I think Heather ultimately is wrong? Yes. But I do think that she's looking at it, we talk about perspective, she's looking at it from a much higher existential thing about, there shouldn't be any vigilance. There should be no one around here walking around with a mask that we can't see. If you're going to save people, like, you should be able to do that without the mask. If you are wearing that mask, then yeah, inherently there is something wrong about what you're doing. Like, we just have to accept that. Ultimately what we are looking at is the results, and she's looking at the process. So I can't completely kill her for what she's saying from the perspective that she's coming from. Wrong as she may be, 30% wrong, but like, there's a lot of truth in what she said.
She wrong. That's all I know.
I want to bring up the character. We were talking about underdeveloped people or characters. Let's get to Bibi Urich, who we mentioned this, or I mentioned this early in the season. I was like, I wonder if she has any clue that her uncle was killed by Wilson Fisk. We find out that she does know that he was the number one murder suspect for her uncle, and she has fallen in her uncle's footsteps and become a journalist. Brittany, what do you think about this revelation that she actually does know, but then she's, I guess, trying to, I don't know, her thing with this Daniel Blake, or it's very weird. Like, she's trying to get close to him, I guess, for information purposes, but he knows that she's already burned him with the trash story, but then I guess he's just into her. It's a weird storyline. What do you think about what's going on?
It is. To answer your first question, the revelation that she knows that Fisk was of interest in the murder of her uncle, a bit anticlimactic. I think we were kind of hoping that there would be like this bigger sort of story development, but let's just face it, we're not going to get any of that this season. Hopefully they'll do better next season. However, it's one of those loose ends that they tied up that I am okay with, just because the fact that you got to get from point A to point B, but her justification of, yes, why do you think I'm here? Like, why do you think I'm following what Fisk does so closely? Which, like I said, it's one of these tied up loose end situations that I'm fine with. I can accept it. It's not the best writing, but they made it make sense. They made it work, in my opinion. And I'm going to call it now with her talking to the police commissioner. He gonna die. He gonna die. He'll be dead. And it'll probably be her fault. I don't know if they'll go as far as to actually like blame her for his death, but he gonna die.
Yeah.
But her relationship too with Daniel, it's that of convenience. It's that of she is able to get a story out of it. She's able to do what she does, and that's be a reporter. I want to know what pseudonym she uses to write in order to not expose herself, and hopefully not expose herself to Fisk. But
yeah, there's been no evidence of that. This is all just
no,
like,
I know they're just like,
they're just
again,
telling us
tying up
now.
loose ends, and it's just like, okay,
I actually
we'll go
thought
with
this
that.
was a good episode. Like I don't think it'll be remembered as a really good episode because of the mistakes made. And I heard y'all talking about like just the lack of exposition. There's so many like loose ends, throughout the season. Things that they didn't like really clear up from, season 3 and all the, the Netflix series that will kind of taint this episode. But I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought a lot of good things happened this episode, but like I did like that the BB thing because it would be very impractical for her to, be cozying up so much to like to Fisk and like trying to get close in there and have like no intuition that Fisk either A, killed her uncle, or B, was like a big suspect. Like she's too knowledgeable, too in the know about these things to not have that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I like the concept of her, being called out by the commissioner and her like revealing that and like them kind of working on some alliance, even though it will most likely lead to his untimely demise. And honestly, I would like that development because that will show Fisk further diving into like the criminal aspect of who he is, and getting further away from this, mayoral farce that he's putting on. So, like I said, I really like this episode. It's just I like it so much that it reminded me of the flaws of this season so much, which is ironic.
To me, it's kind of late in the game to like, I mean, you're the second last episode of the season to actually like, hey, let's give these characters some motivation. Let's explain what's happening. Like to me, it's like the whole problem of like, it still feels like there was like an 18 episode plan, but it's like, we're going to stuff the 18 episode plan into 9 episodes. And it just doesn't work. Like there are good moments in this episode. There are good moments in every episode. But like to me as a whole, it just doesn't come together like it should. And like the Netflix show did for the most part. I mean, my criticism of that show is it felt like some of those seasons were too long, like because they were full hours and they were 13 episodes and there was like a lot of stuff. But looking back at it, it's like, man, like that was what they needed to be. Like that they use their time pretty wisely. Whereas this is like, you introduce these characters and it's like with Bullseye, it's like, oh, he's back. So we've got to like use him in every crazy way possible. And he's going to spit out a tooth and kill a guy. And, like, it's just, I don't know.
To me, it's the same problem that 1923 has, where you have essentially Daredevil Born Again is Matt and Wilson Fisk, and everything else is like, you're getting 5 minutes a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
2 shots a game. Like, hey, take advantage. Everybody else is just a role player in this. Whereas 1923, you have like this main story. Like, there's just not enough time, or they haven't figured out that they're going to devote enough time to like really fleshing out these other stories. Like either Muse or Bullseye should have been the main villain. The main thing that both Matt and Wilson Fisk are like focused on in this season. And what you do is you bring Muse in for the first half, Bullseye in the first episode, and then it's Muse, and then now it's back to Bullseye. Like, we could have devoted all this. We could have, had some backstory on Bullseye, recovering from, having his back damn near broke. Like, there's so many things, or complaining about, being in General Pop and like the agony that comes from that. That could have been the thing that motivated his his call to want to see Matt. Like, there's just so much story left out because we've shortened this season so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, we only have like this big story. Like, we have this big parallel between your two titular characters, and everybody else is just kind of like, well, we'll kind of get to this when we get there. Shout out to Yesenia. Fisk is the main villain, but like, Fisk is also cosplaying as something bigger than the villain.
Yeah.
And like kind of hiding his villain tendencies on the side. And like, yeah, ultimately, yeah, he is the thing that needs to go. But like, there's all, you know, you have these other villains popping up that if you're going to have him as a mayor, then you have him focusing on finding Muse, right? Now it's going to be about finding Bullseye. We could have picked one and just fleshed those stories out. Like, that's just a bad decision by the writers.
Here's my main problem with not just Daredevil, but the title Born Again. When I hear Born Again, I hear New Beginning. And when this show took this from Netflix and decided to reboot, I don't know if they call it a reboot, but when they decided to take it and create their own story, you can't call it Born Again, but take parts and pieces of like the previous series and then not explain what the fuck is going on. That's not Born Again. You just continuing a story that's just bad explaining what we're seeing. And I wish they would have just rehashed the whole story and not just bring in new people, new characters, but bring in new stories that are just disassociated from the original Netflix series. Because what they're doing is they're half-assing it. You're saying we're gonna bring in this new cast, we're gonna kill off certain characters and kick off other characters, but kind of tell you what happened over time from the previous series. You can't, and you're straddling the fence. Either reboot the whole fucking show or continue what we saw from the Netflix series so people can associate what they're watching. And I fundamentally have a problem with Bullseye, not because I don't like the character, but because you bring in this character from the Netflix series, but not explaining to the audience what the fuck, why he has this axe to grind. The man got his back broke in season 3 of the show of the Netflix series. The motherfucker's jumping off buildings. He got thrown off a goddamn building. You know what I'm saying? And he's walking just fine. You know what I'm saying? Like his name is Bullseye. His strength is supreme accuracy, and he's in prison getting bandaged up with no fucking bondage on his hands after being bondaged on his hands for the first 20 minutes of the episode. And it's like they're half-assing everything, and you make too much fucking money and have too many fucking resources to half-ass a story. Either rebrand it or continue it and say Daredevil season 4 and just own it. But don't give me a half-ass story and have me confused on like, hey, is this Born Again or is this part of season 3 of Netflix? Like, and that's why I'm so pissed off the episode, because I don't know what the fuck I'm watching. I don't know if I'm watching a whole new version or I'm watching just a Hyundai Pinto Kia version of the Netflix series.
No, you're watching both. I mean, like the Born Again thing solely is just like branding because they like contractually, like they're not going to call it Daredevil because that's what the Netflix show is called, right? So they're continuing the story. They came up with the Born Again title because Born Again is a comic run, which actually is kind of the storyline they played out in season 3 of the Netflix show, right? It's just branding, but and it's like them saying, well, now Daredevil's born, you know, in our universe, on our airways. You know what I'm saying? Just like how, you know, Spider-Man Homecoming. The reason why the movie was called Homecoming is because Spider-Man came home and was with the Marvel Studios characters. That's why they called it Homecoming. So, simply because that. Then they had to make 2 other movies that had home in the title. But no, I agree with you. It's like we talked about. It's like they did both. They took the main characters from the Netflix show, and then they said, well, we'll just do whatever we want to. And then they're like, oh wait, maybe we do need to include the characters that help build those characters from the Netflix show, and then let's add those in there too, and it's a mess. I hope season 2 is one vision, as opposed to the Frankenstein version of this that we've seen. But I gotta say, I'm not super looking forward to it. Like I can wait till next year to see season 2. That's for sure. Um, let's see. Is there anything else we haven't really touched on that y'all want to get to with the episode? Brittany, is there something that we haven't mentioned that you want to talk about?
I want to say we pretty much hit up all the highlights, if you will. The dancing around the issue on the dance floor. Now that I think about it, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Dancing around the issue of Matt's being super like hyper fixated on Fisk, and it's freaking out Heather. She's like, you're gonna have to like give me more information to follow, and he does these things. He's not so much slipping, whether it's intentional or not, but he's showing that he doesn't really need the cane to help walk. Like he can see for all intents and purposes. He folds up his cane, he tosses it timely onto the server with the tray, and he tells her, you're gonna have to lead, go on the dance floor. Then in order to get to Vanessa to confront her, he bumps into the Fisks. They switch partners. And then like just this very odd sideways, movement dancing from Wilson and Heather. I'm like super cringe.
Like kind of swaying together. Yeah.
I had like secondhand embarrassment. I guess you could call
it depression for ass dancing. Roaring 20s that shit.
Oh man, it was very, very odd. Just that the whole thing was just extremely odd. By the way, I loved Vanessa's dress. I thought she looked fabulous. I told Justin from the thumbnail that Vanessa's side profile gave me Gal Gadot vibes. I was like, I first split second, I thought this was Gal Gadot for a second. I'm like, oh, well, they're both Israeli. So like, they probably have very similar physical features in a way. So that's just a sidebar. But yeah, super cringe with the dancing of Vanessa, just kidding, Fisk and Heather. Going back to Adam and that whole thing, I'm just going to call him Benji too, from You. Poor Benji, poor Adam, they one and the same guy, just always seems to die in a cage of sorts. And I thought that was just very odd too, how Fisk put it on her to ultimately make that decision. Either you're with me or you're against me kind of situation. And how he flew off the handle of like, I hear his voice and I see his hands and it's unbearable. And it's just like, take a chill pill. People have affairs all the time. Like, it's not the end of the world. But he's like, but I'm better. I'm better than what I was. And I was like, are you though? Are you really? Really? Anyway.
Yeah. For me, I don't know if I didn't catch like the first, 15, 20 minutes, but Matt, piece by piece, is like forgetting that, like to use his stick, like he's forgetting a lot of the blinders around like his blindness, like forgetting to like keep up this ruse that he can't see, that he can't navigate. Like everything's mirroring like Fisk's like not so slow, honestly, descent into, their past lives or their alter egos. And Matt is just kind of like, either he's just forgetting, or this could be just bad writing. But he's just forgetting to like keep up with their rules. The more and more like he dives back into like becoming Daredevil. So that's something to keep watch on. How much is he going to try to hold on to, or how much is he going to like continue to like delude himself into like thinking he's not Daredevil when that's who he is and who he ultimately just always wants to be. Like I've appreciated so much like the Matt Murdock scenes, because I think you need to show as much as possible these heroes being like their non-hero self, like, and how they navigate the ultimate madness that comes with like trying to hide this identity and trying to be quote unquote normal. When for Matt, being normal is Daredevil. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a hard thing to like put back into like the toothpaste bottle. Like, so every time like when Buck comes to the door, like he forgets to like he's dancing around like he's moving. You know what I'm saying? Like he's fucking Cab Calloway out there. So I wonder how much of that is just him forgetting and just like this is what needs to be done, like and just instinctually moving, or is this just like mistakes made by the show, like a Starbucks cup, in medieval times. So that's something I noticed.
Yeah,
I think you're giving the show too much credit. I think it's just bad writing and just not paying attention to detail.
Hey, Tristan, I want to get your thoughts. So we talked about predictions for the finale before you jumped on. Do you have any predictions for what you might think's going to happen in the final episode of the season?
Well, I don't think Daredevil's going to kill Vanessa. I would say, I wouldn't put it past him. I would say that we've been waiting for Daredevil to break and cross that line for 4 seasons at this point. What I think is a little bit more practical. I think that there's this unsaid alliance between him and Fisk, at least at the beginning of next week's episode, where Fisk does obviously doesn't want to like expose who he is. He may kind of back off of trying to manipulate Matt into like making a mistake or whatever, trying to destroy him subtly. I think there's some alliance between them until Matt. I think Matt is going to find out in some shape or form, like he's going to draw a deeper connection between Fisk and a lot of this criminal activity that's happening around the city. Obviously he knows about Vanessa's involvement in Foggy's murder. I don't know if he believes or thinks that Fisk has something to do with it, or how much he thinks Fisk has something to do with it. But there's going to be something that breaks that alliance in the finale, the way he sees, okay, Fisk is completely, back into his criminal element, and there's no more Cold War. Like we'll just dance around each other, literally and figuratively. But like, okay, he's back to being enemy number one, along with, possibly Bullseye.
They got to make sense of this. They have to be able to make sense of like this connection of like Foggy, this mysterious witness or this mysterious whistleblower, because they've made no recollection or even a flashback would make sense to give. When you unveil something that telling, there's typically foreshadowing or some type of clue that the viewer has missed, that was so minute that when you go back, like, oh shit, that did happen in episode 3. Oh damn, that was the person that said what he did or whatever. There's been no recollection of this person that Feige was working with, that whistleblower or whatever. And it's kind of like, I just feel like you're just throwing shit against the wall, hoping that sticks. And now I could be wrong, and like something could unveil in the finale, or it could be a long con of season 2 of like, okay, this is the person that got Foggy fucked up and Foggy got caught in crosshairs. But the further I remove myself from episode 1, the further it looks like that Foggy's death was just Attila Sheridan. Gotcha. Just doing
shock value. Yeah.
Like it doesn't, because bro, we've been watching the show for what, almost 5 weeks now. Foggy's death doesn't make sense. like Poindexter kills this man. The guy that he was on the phone, Foggy was on the phone with before he died, we don't know who that is. Poindexter hasn't been seen for 5 weeks. He shows back up. It just seemed like a Taylor Sheridan thing to do, and it's like you just took a big chess piece off the board just to do it.
One other thing too, I just wanted to bring up real quick: the private meetings that Fisk was having with the so-called investors, and he brings in the guy who's what's his vigilante name, the swordsman or something along those lines.
Jack Duquesne. Yeah,
Jack Duquesne. I had to go back and look him up in Hawkeye. I'm like, oh yeah, that is the same guy. Anyway, that's beside the point.
He was in Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Totally over my head. I didn't know who the fuck he was.
He was with Kate Bishop's mom.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that show was so forgettable. I forgot he was even in it.
Well, he was also in the episode last week too. Or
yeah,
2
he
weeks
was.
ago or whatever. Yeah.
It was when Fisk was holding some sort of gala event to ask these people for money to support his initiative, blah blah blah, and now like he's pressuring them more so at this black and white formal, and he's letting Jacques or whatever his name is know, like, oh, I'm aware of your alter ego. Of course, he plays it off cool, like, if I knew what you're talking about, that would have been an isolated event. Yes, but my task force would look into it. Task force, Powell. Pretty brutal what he did to that reporter who snuck in the phone and was taking pictures, and he fried his hand, like literally fried his hand in the greaser. Goddamn. I just like, where's that going to go? Like, is that going to go anywhere? Is that going to be resolved? Like, is that just going to go feed into season 2? That kind of thing. I don't know.
They got to stop doing this. If your goal is to get the casual Marvel viewer or the casual person to watch these shows, stop putting in minute characters from another bad fucking show that nobody's watched and try to make them relevant. Like 95% of people who watched that episode didn't know who the fuck that person was. Or he was in Hawkeye. Like you're trying to combine, like, it's like you try to make this like a mini MCU with these shitty ass shows and have people care about these shitty ass characters that nobody even remembers.
No, the problem is it's all MCU though. That's what I'm saying. Like they're expanding the Marvel Cinematic Universe with their streaming shows
that a lot of people don't watch because like nobody has seen all 16 Marvel Cinematic or Marvel TV shows. So even
actually,
know,
I have.
Well, you have because you're a podcaster that watches the show. But like the average, I'm talking about the average viewer who's casually watching Daredevil or casually watching Loki is not watching She-Hulk. It's not watching Moonlight. It's not watching Minority Superhero number 5 in Hawkeye. Like nobody's they gotta stop doing this shit, bro. Like just focus on writing good content. That's it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Any other final thoughts before we move on? Brittany, anything else you want to say?
I'm ready for the finale. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready to move on to other shows that we're going to cover in April and beyond, which we'll talk a little bit more at the very end of this pod. But yeah, I was so looking forward to this new series, and I've been sadly disappointed to a degree. So
yeah. Tristan, final thoughts on Daredevil episode 8.
Again, I'm rewatching, the season 2 of Daredevil, and it's such a stark contrast. Like one thing I noticed, just to kind of wrap up, like visually, how different it is. This looks like a Disney show. You know what I mean? Like it looks like a show that will come on like ABC. The music, like the rising tension in the music, like mirrors what you would hear in like ABC show. Like Designated Survivor. You know what I'm saying? Like
real quick, Tristan.
I'm rewatching Designated Survivor at the same time too, and it's like it's the same shit, same formula. Go ahead.
Real quick, Tristan. I was going to interrupt. You mentioned music with Daredevil. The opening, the theme song. The dun, 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 dun. Do you hear Game of Thrones? Do you hear the Light of the Seven in that piano, in those chords? Because every time I hear it, and you could hear that same piece when Matt goes to Josie's and he's like waiting outside. You hear that? I'm like, this is Game of Thrones. Like this is Game of Thrones music. Did they get Ramin Djawadi to help like score this? Like because it's fire. It's absolute fire.
Check that out.
He scored Iron Man, so he's familiar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I gotta check that out. No, I haven't caught that. I haven't even thought about that, but now I'm gonna be hyper focused on it. Thanks. Yeah, but that's about it. Like just the stark contrast and like the visual presentation of the show. they clearly want to brand this as a Disney show, like fold it into that and kind of move away from a lot of the aesthetics and sounds of the Netflix show, which is crazy to me because I thought the Netflix show portrayed Daredevil in the perfect way possible. It was dark enough for you to understand like the demons that are within this character, but also light enough for you to see like how good, he is ultimately as a person, like the good that he tries to do. It's perfect balance for me. And like watching both of these at the same time, like it's such a stark contrast, and you can't watch one without thinking about the other. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, no, that is very well said. I think that's a good way to wrap it up for episode 8 of Daredevil, Born Again. A couple news items before we get out of here, and actually sticking with a cast member for Daredevil, Born Again, because so we saw a few weeks ago when they announced the partial cast for Avengers Doomsday. There were 27 actors were named. One actor, however, was not named. That's Vincent D'Onofrio. And he said the reason why, he was on the Happy Sad Confused podcast last week. He said the reason why Kingpin won't be in any movies is because it's due to rights issues. And Frank, I want to get your thoughts on this, because to me that doesn't really make sense, because there was a Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck back in 2003. Michael Clark Duncan played Kingpin in that movie.
R.I.P.
That was a 20th Century Fox movie, which is what they purchased. Disney bought Fox. That's how they got the X-Men. Since then, Kingpin has appeared. Now, it's for the Sony Into the Spider-Verse. Kingpin is a main character in that. Kingpin is in at least one of the Spider-Man PlayStation video games. But according to Vincent D'Onofrio, which I guess he would know better than most people, he can't appear in the Marvel movies. Frank, what are your thoughts on this?
I think Vincent's just talking just to talk without giving too much. I just think Marvel didn't think about putting him in the movie. They own Kingpin. Like he's in a Marvel Disney show. It's like they own. Well,
he's saying they don't have the movie rights, or the movie rights are tied up in some kind of, I don't know. There's some kind of rights issue over the character in movies.
I don't understand how it's a right issue when they own the character. I don't.
Yeah, unless they consider Kingpin a Spider-Man character.
But he's in the Marvel TV show owned by Disney.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I think
I know. I'm just like I don't think he's accurate either. But I'm just want to try to present both sides of it. Brittany, any thoughts about this? Do you want to see these Daredevil characters appear in Doomsday? Or honestly, after seeing the show, I don't. I think stay away.
Yeah.
Stay away. We're good.
I agree.
We're good.
I need them to focus on creating a better season. If that's what this is going to be, if Daredevil is only a television series character that's not going to cross over into the movies and have a bigger role, fine. I'd rather them put the time and energy into the writing to develop a good storyline for the TV series. I'm not a fan of the Daredevil movie that had Ben Affleck in it, so like that just kind of leaves a poor taste in my mouth. However, would I love to see Charlie Cox have his own movie? Absolutely. But again, it goes back to the storytelling. It goes back to good writing, good plot, etc. But let's crawl before we run, y'all. Like let's get that situated.
I do want to say the next movie that's coming out is Thunderbolts. Comes out May 2nd. A lot of that movie happens in New York City, which he is the mayor of New York City in the MCU. So it's kind of weird if they don't reference him or have some kind of, like I said, some reference to the mayor. I think that would be kind of strange, right?
No, it's becoming real DC-like, bro. This shit's becoming real. It's getting real DC-ish.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Tristan, what are your thoughts on all this?
I just think that Kingpin's too complex a villain to like do these cameos. You know what I'm saying? Like I know people think of Kingpin Wilson Fisk as the straightforward character, but like he's really complex. You know, like he's one of my favorite villains because I don't feel sympathy for him, but like I do. I guess maybe it's just, you know, Vincent D'Onofrio, like the way he portrays him. Like I want to understand Wilson Fisk. You can't throw him on there for some, you know, 3-minute cameo like this is Civil War. Like, no, like he needs to be fleshed out. So like, let's put all our energy in reintroducing the broader audience to Wilson Fisk in a better way than we're getting on this season. And let's leave him out of this extra stuff. Like we don't want him to become like this, just a side figure. Like he's a very, very important figure in the MCU, in the Daredevil universe and in the storyline. Leave the rest of the shit. Like let's, like you said, just a cohesive plot line. Let's just stick to that and like focus on that instead of like showing off our new toys and showing, you know, like I don't need that.
Yeah.
I can't see him be anything beyond a grounded villain. You know what I mean? Like I can't see him be someone associated that deals with the multiverse or the Avengers or things of that nature. Like I feel like he's just too street level to then tap into being bigger than that. Like in my mind, I'm like, well, obviously Marvel had to pivot with Kang because of what happened. And it's like, well, could they put their focus on Kingpin and developing him to be the big bad, but at a street level? But it's like, but then how do you know, deal with the Dr. Doom and all these things that are happening in the multiverse? And it's just like, I don't think you can. I don't think it would tell a good story if you're trying to blend the two in that nature. So to keep them separate, I think is necessary at this point.
But here's the problem, though. You've already opened Pandora's box by everything.
I know.
Like I don't know how you have a Spider-Man story. The next Spider-Man that comes out, I don't know how you have a Spider-Man story in New York City where he's a photographer working for the Daily Bugle in a city that Wilson Fisk is mayor in, who is also a Spider-Man adversary.
Yeah.
Like how do you open up Pandora's box already by layering all these different shows and movies together. Once you start unraveling it with that explanation, there better be some type of multiversal thing where like it's alternate universes then. Because as much shit as I talk about DC, the shows was not connected to the movies. It was totally different. So there was no like, oh well, I mean, this guy's in Smallville, but he's not in the movies. Like it wasn't connected at all. So it's like Thunderbolts is in New York. Sentry's coming. And if this is going on in New York, and then Spider-Man's coming next year in New York, and the fucking mayor is not even referenced. Come on, bro. It doesn't make sense if they do that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you got to what I was going to say I think that Fisk would work in a Spider-Man movie, in a where Spider-Man left off in No Way Home, where no one knows who Peter Parker is. I think it's a perfect way to, I mean, hell, he was referenced in this show. Fisk referenced Spider-Man, a guy wearing a spider costume, dressed as a spider, whatever, mentioning the Punisher, mentioning Daredevil. I mean, they're practically telling you, we're going to team these guys up, right? Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think it could make sense. Whereas I don't really want to see Wilson Fisk in an Avengers movie, you know, unless, you know, he is just the mayor on TV talking about his city or something. He doesn't need to interact with the Hulk, you know, like that doesn't really make sense to me. So, but speaking of the next Avengers movie, let's talk about this news. This will be the final item for tonight. Brittany, there's a visual aid at this one. I want everybody to take a look at it. So Robert Downey Jr. on April 4th, he celebrated his 60th birthday, which, wow, 60. I honestly, I thought he might be a little bit older than that, but he's 60 years old. And right now he is in London because Avengers Doomsday is in production. The movie drops, supposed to come out next May, May of 2026. And while he was over there, it was his birthday. And so he sent out invitations to his birthday that look just like this. This is an invitation to his birthday where he is dressed as a version of Dr. Doom. However, he looks a little bit different. if you take a good look at it, he's not wearing the face mask per se. He doesn't have the hood on. And this came out over the weekend. A lot of people online were freaking out about this, asking the question, wondering, is this what RDJ's Doom is going to look like? Is he not going to look like traditional Doom that we've seen in, comics and video games and even movies, even the Fox movies over the years? And a lot of people were concerned about that. Brittany, I want to get your thoughts. Do you think this is what RDJ is going to look like in Doomsday? And if so, how does that impact your excitement level for the film? You're muted.
Clarification. They are currently in production for Avengers Doomsday. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So filming has begun.
I don't know if filming has, but it's supposed to shortly.
Okay.
So they're all over. I mean, or he's over there. I mean, this is his movie, obviously.
Yes.
All Avengers Doomsday. Yeah.
So given that they're presumably, if anything, going through table reads and they're getting, ready to probably do pre-production photography, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with yes, based on the next image that you sent to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I'm not the comic book reader that, let's say, that Frank is and others out there. It doesn't bother me necessarily. I feel like what these actors do is that they try to make the character like kind of in their own image and in a fashion.
Yeah.
But I think also to truly separate the Robert Downey Jr. that was Tony Stark, Iron Man, and now the Robert Downey Jr. that is Dr. Doom, you've got to like really change up the look. And I think it's maybe for like shock and awe value, if you will. How successful that may be, I couldn't tell you, of course. But based on the illustration that we have here, that is RDJ's invitation. And then again, based on the next image that we'll show momentarily, pretty sure this is going to be the look, because I think I saw RDJ at an awards ceremony not that long ago, and his hair was the way that we've normally seen it as RDJ. Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes, this is going to be the look.
Yeah, because his hair is it's a little bit longer than normal, and that's what we're seeing with the invitation, the look of Victor Von Doom with the longer hair. Frank, obviously you're probably more familiar with Dr. Doom than all of us. What do you think this is going to be? Robert Downey Jr.'s look as the character, and if so, what do you think about that?
I think it's possible. I think anytime you unveil multiversal shit, like you're gonna get different versions of like different heroes and characters, right, and villains. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get a version like this. I mean, again, like the same person who's playing Dr. Doom was Iron Man, a variant in this story. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm not one of those comic book readers that's flabbergasted when like their exact fitting of a costume is not like how it is in the comic books, or if a exact storyline is not the way it is in the comic books. Just make it be good. That's my only thing. As long as it's good and it makes sense, and like I can believe, like Tristan said this in our 20 podcast with writing, make me believe it. If it's believable and it's good, and I can like ingratiate myself in the storyline, and like it generates a reaction out of me, whether I'm distraught or pissed off or happy, but all in all, it's good. I'm cool with it. Like there's so many different versions of Dr. Doom in the comic book universe. Like there's a version with Tony Stark becomes Dr. Doom. There's a version of Dr. Doom and saying the same psyche as Mr. Fantastic. There's so many different versions. So yeah, as long as the MCU makes it make sense and it's good, it's whatever. I'm not tripping.
Tristan, what do you think about this this look at Doom, if this is what he'll be like in the film?
My brothers and sisters, I don't know a good goddamn thing about Dr. Doom. So I'm gonna watch. I don't know. Like this has zero effect. I don't know. I have no frame of reference. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers. I don't know. I'm excited to watch. I got nothing for you. In
No, I will say this, like, yeah, he doesn't look like the traditional Doom, of course, in this image. Although there are traditional Dooms below him in this on this invitation, if you look there. But I think that either way it works for me. I think that they desperately need Robert Downey Jr.'s star power with where the MCU is right now. And I do appreciate that obviously he wants to play this character. He seems like he's very invested in the character. I think that the fact that he has a birthday invitation announcing himself as Doctor Doom with any kind of costume, whether it be what he's going to wear in the film or not, I appreciate that. I'm glad he's like fully focused. And from what I've read, I don't think this is like a 2-movie thing. I think he plans on being Doom for a while. Who knows how long that is. And from reading about what the movie's about, like Kevin Feige last week at CinemaCon, we talked about CinemaCon last week. However, Marvel didn't do their panel until Thursday. And at the panel, Kevin Feige called in from London, from the set where they're working on the movie. And he said that like this movie is going to focus on the Avengers, the Wakandans, the Fantastic Four, the Thunderbolts, and the original X-Men all fighting Doctor Doom. That's pretty cool. That sounds pretty good to me. And I think that, a lot of us are worried about, how are they going to connect all this stuff that's happened in phase 4 and 5? How are they going to make it all work? I don't think they're even going to worry about it. I think that they're just going to focus on, we've got Robert Downey Jr. back. He's playing a different character. The character is going to, there's going to be some tie to Iron Man. I know they haven't really said that, but come on. There's a reason why Doom is played by RDJ. And the Russos have said that, like, in Endgame, they told they ended a story. They capped off a 20 movie run, right? Whereas they're saying that Avengers Doomsday is like a beginning story. So this is not good. I don't think this is the end of, this Doom run isn't going to be a short mini thing. I think this is going to be something we might see for the next 5 or 10 years. So I'm excited about it. I think he looks cool either way, whether he's got the hood and the metal mask, or if he's got his long gray hair and whatever. Like I'm cool with it. I'm just glad he's back.
Now, something I did read, it was rumor mill stuff, but from a source on Instagram that's been pretty spot on with a lot of the Marvel stuff that's happened, that Michael B. Jordan is going to be back in this incarnation.
I've heard the same.
Yeah, and he's a pretty trusted source. Like he was one of the ones that kind of like busted the news about Tobey Maguire and Garfield being back in the Spider-Man movies. If that happens, man, if we get like a variant of Black Panther that's him, or a Killmonger variant from another universe, I think that'd be kind of dope. I thought they killed Michael B. Jordan's character off too soon. I thought he was a character that could have really like had mainstay, kind of like a low-key mainstay as far as like the ideology and like this whole like tortured soul, and like I think it would have been a good mainstay. So if they can bring him back some form of fashion, I think that'd be kind of cool for the MCU universe.
What if we get Michael B. Jordan's Johnny Storm though? That could be possible.
Oh, they put him off in the same movie that he shows up in. I could do without that. That was a terrible movie.
That was a terrible movie.
I don't see them bringing back that cast, but in his case, like just like how Chris Evans, his version of Johnny Storm was in Deadpool and Wolverine, like I could see them doing that with Michael B. Jordan just to get him back for a cameo. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of rumors about Black Panther, what happens with that character, and that might be for the next movie. That might be for Secret Wars more so than Doomsday.
Did we show how RDJ looks? We've had this invitation up here on the screen for a while.
Yeah,
did we show?
Yeah. So
you did.
As you can see, he's got the longer hair. It's the invitation image is very similar to how he actually looks right now. So
okay. Well, there you have it, people. Let us know what you think in the live chat or in the comments down below if this is more or less going to be the Doctor Doom that we'll get out of RDJ. So let us know in the comments down below.
Yep. So that about does it for this episode. Brittany, before we get out of here, why don't you plug away? Tell people how they can find us online and what they need to do.
All you have to do is simply hit that subscribe button, and you'll be subscribed to our YouTube channel. We're on the road to 500. We've actually gained a couple of more subscribers this past week, so we appreciate everyone who has taken the time to check us out. Follow us here on YouTube. Go ahead and follow us also on our social media, which the links can be found in the description box down below. Also, audio podcasts. We got you covered on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating, as well as give us a like on this video if you've enjoyed this live stream, and turn on those notification bells that we know the next time we go live. This week, Amber and I will be coming at you for the first 3 episodes of the season, the final season of The Handmaid's Tale, I should say. We're also going to be covering The Last of Us, You. I know there's movies that we're also going to be covering as well. I think The Accountant 2 might be one. We've got a lot of content coming y'all's way this month and for the rest of the summer. So be sure to once again subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you can take part in all of our live chats. We love the engagement. Shout out to Yesenia, King B. Johnson, and M Moves for joining us in today's live chat as well.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany and for Frank and for Tristan, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.